it's me, Ingrid INFP, and I'm sitting in the laundry room, so I'm sorry about the noise. I wanted to talk about Enneagram 6 and INFP because I just watched a video from Renaud Contini about him being an INFJ 6 and how 6s and 4s are different. Because I think a lot of INFJs and INFPs think they are 4s because, well, we're NFs, so we value authenticity and we value our identity and being unique and that kind of thing. But I think a lot of us are more likely to be INFJ or INFP 6s than what seems to be common on the internet. So something that I found really interesting in Renaud Contini's video is that it seems that both 4s and 6s are concerned with identity, but in a different way. And the thing is, it seems like 4s are much more certain about their identity. Their problem is mostly how to express it and how to be authentically themselves in this world that wants them to conform and not be themselves, basically. So that seems like a very INFP thing, because we do have FI at first and an E at second, and that makes us very prone to being, well, creative and kind of unique people. And then our inferior function is TE, that is really into normalization. And INFJs might relate to 4 because they have a mystical thing about them. NI makes them into really idiosyncratic people, eccentric people, and their NI-TI really makes them into, people that don't fit into the norm. They do have FE though, and FE makes them more likely, I think, to have a push and pull there, where they do want to express their authenticity. If you're an INFJ 4, it's how to show the feelings to the world, and I think INFJ 4s might seem like INFPs in a way. But so that's the 4. And what about the 6? Well, the 6 is a head type. You say, like, isn't head types like coupled with anxiety rather than talking about identity? And you're not wrong, but 6s have a sense of incompleteness that Renaud talks about. He says that basically 6s want to fill that hole in them, and they are really concerned about finding their identity. And it's like finding not on the inside, but by testing out on the outside. Like testing out these different identities that are out there and seeing which ones fit. Because the nature, the essence of the 6 is to doubt. So it's more about finding, searching for identity in this wild and confusing world, in order to find a sense of stability. Stability is not just the SJ kind of stability that is the stereotype of the 6, like not just about finding like a house and finding like getting a car and getting like the a stable economy and stuff. It's also about finding a stability in self, finding stability and being able to tackle the world's challenges and being whole. And in order to do that, I think sixes are really into trying to find their identity. Their identity isn't something that is known, as opposed to the four. The sixes are always trying to find their identity. While the fours, it seems like they know what their identity is, but they struggle in being able to live it out because the world is terrible, you know? For sixes, the world is terrible, but in another way. Like Renaud says, is that there's chaos in the world, and the world seems hostile because there's such uncertainty always, and always nothing is certain in the mind of the six. So that is what seems hostile. It's not, is that everything is so unpredictable. And so the self is also unpredictable, because who knows, things will change, you know? Who am I? And so I don't know, I'm a six. I think that fours are probably a bit more sure about, like, it's more solid. Their identity is more solid, and it's more about how to show that to the world rather than how to figure it out, because the thing is already figured out. I think that INFPs might relate to this. Of course, there are going to be INFP 4s that are quite sure in their identity and really struggle with how other people are going to accept this part of them. But I think that also there are INFP 6s out there who are just really unstable, like me, and who don't see, they don't really know what their identity is, so they their whole life is going to be searching. I think INFP 4s will have a hard time doing a job that doesn't fit their personality. And I think 6s do too, but I think that it's not because they can't express themselves as a problem. I think it's more the problem that they just feel uncertain about who they are, like, at all times. Try on different things, try out different philosophies, and identify as things externally. Like, I identify as a doctor, but if I stopped being a doctor for any reason and became something else, then I might identify as that. It's not really like I was born to be a doctor. I think it's just I went that path, and then it seemed to kind of work out. So I guess I will be that, but I'll never be certain of anything. And I think it does help me a little bit in a way, because I don't feel frustrated that that I know what I want to be, and then I'm not disappointed that I can't be that. I think the INFP 4s might have a hard time being disappointed in the world. But as an INFP 6, it's just the world is really anxiety-inducing because nothing, not even myself, is everything is subject to doubt. So that's something that I took from Renault's video. I'm glad that he took up this because sixes aren't really talked about in the Enneagram or personality community, because it kind of feels like the worst type to be. Of course, every Enneagram type is the worst to be, but sixes don't get a great description or reputation. It just feels like they're the most anxious, annoying people around. And like, well, their most positive traits is basically just loyalty, which is like the best trait to have in the society that we live in. Well, you know, a lot of the 4 Enneagram descriptions have some pretty positive traits mixed in with the negative ones, like being very creative, or being very deep, or being very unique and introspective and such, while sixes seem to be like, you know, prone to just anxiety, prone to following a leader at all costs, even losing themselves in the process. There are a lot of negatives associated with being a 6. But I think that it is also a source of great strength. Being in an INFP 6 mind is a lot. And I think that there is a kind of strength to that. To be able to deal with so much uncertainty on a daily basis is not easy. And if you don't have the SJ mentality that goes with 6, and then you're set up for kind of a difficult life, because there's no, like, you don't have the skills to implement the security that you crave, and you also get all of these extra existential questions that SJ types spend less time thinking about. So the mind of an INFP 6, I think, is a little bit scary. I'm not trying to really compare the struggles with the INFP 4, because I know that being a 4, 4 is the next in my tri-type. But being a 4 is also terrible, because you get all of this feeling of shame, and I get that as a person with social anxiety. Like, there's a lot of shame in who you are, and envy at other people, which really makes you feel down quite a lot. So I am feeling a lot of compassion for the 4s out there, but I do want to lift up the 6s who are also struggling. Being an INFP in general is difficult. But so yeah, I found it really interesting, the difference between the identity of the 4 and the 6 in INFJs and INFPs. Because it's not a topic that's often talked about, and I think that these Enneagram types can often be confused between each other. And I can see how an INFJ or an INFP might mistype as the other type, also if their Enneagrams are different. So yeah, tell me what you guys think. What is your Enneagram? If there's any Enneagram 6 out there who happens to be an INFP or an INFJ, then I'd love to talk to you. Have a great day. Bye.